Alrighty, continuing our fun. These are absolute value equations and inequalities. You didn't think I could make this even more exciting, did you? Absolute value, if you remember, is the distance a number is from 0 on the number line. So if I talk about the absolute value of 3, I'm asking, how far is 3 from 0 on the number line? Well, it's 3 spaces. So obviously the absolute value of 3 is the number 3. Likewise, if I say I want the absolute value of negative 4, well, again, it's distance, so it's not negative. It comes out as positive 4. Little caveat, though, if I put this down, the absolute value of, let's say, 2, or the negative absolute value 2, this comes out as a 2, but I have to throw the negative back on because it's on the outside. So make sure you pay attention to little things like that. Solving absolute value equations. Basically, it gives us 2 answers, and that's based on the idea that if I have the absolute value of a, whatever that equation is, whatever's inside, and I say it's equal to the number, right, b, you have to think about the fact that, well, let's say I have x plus 2, the absolute value of that, and I say that equals the number 7. You think, okay, well, what can I can't just go off subtracting the 2, right? I have to ask myself, what can I add to 2 here that would create that difference? So what it really comes down to is this. I can say the x plus 2 equals negative 7, right? And I say, oops, I didn't want to write that. And I say that x plus 2 equals positive 7. I solved both of those. So in this case, we're going to say, we're going to subtract the 2, so you get negative 9, and we'll see if that's true here in just a second. In this case, we're obviously going to get 5. So do both of those work? Do I plug in a negative 9? So let's ask ourselves that. We plug in negative 9 right here. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. Absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7. Plug in a 5. Well, 5 plus 2 is 7. The absolute value of 7 is 7. So there you go. So you got to be thinking of what's on the outside. And we'll talk about how to clean that up and get a little more involved here shortly. It gets a little hairier when we do absolute value inequalities. Depends on whether it's less than or greater than. When it's less than, solve the compound inequality here. So basically you put the positive and negative and then solve in the middle. You know how we solved before, like on all 3 sides we called it? So that's what we're looking for here. And we'll do some examples in your homework. And I do carry one down here for you. So if I have the absolute of n minus 1, that means we're looking at n minus 1 is going to fall between negative 2 and positive 2. That's on a less than. On a greater than, we're going to solve a compound inequality of an or. So and versus or, which is why we learned that before. And hopefully you have that down before you head into this stuff, or it might be become a bit tricky. But anyway, talking about the or situation, you have to solve it twice still, using the opposite of whatever b is, and what b is, paying attention to greater than and less than. So think about this. And is going to be and like we graph it. It's going to be in the middle. So that's why it looks like this. Or looks like this. It's a split, so you're going to solve 2 different inequalities, just like we learned already.